Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Well, if you tuned into last week, you know that we are in part 2 of a wonderful program with Julie Allen, who is the author of The Courage to Hope. The Courage to Hope. And what are we hoping for? Well, we're hoping for good health, good relationship with food, good relationship with our bodies, good relationship with ourselves. We're looking to become whole and organic, as they say, using food for sustenance and not the other way around, that I need to eat to fill up a hole where I feel worthless and not lovable. So the courage to hope. So welcome back, Julie Allen. Oh, yes. And so we can't assume that everyone has listened to part 1. So you don't have to repeat everything. Let me just say to you that you developed an eating disorder when you were 10 or 11, and of the kind that is much more compassionate, much more compassionate for people to hear about, anorexia and bulimia. Right. And you were a ballet dancer from the time you were 4. And any of us who have seen The Black Swan and see what she went through, the character in that, and the whole idea of having to be perfect. And so from there, you had OCD. And 10 or 11, we're looking at pubescence and what on earth happens to girls when they reach puberty, right? And when we're girls, right? When we're children, there's a much higher self-confidence. I'm talking as a social psychologist. There's athleticism, there's natural, healthy, organic assertiveness, and there's verve, and there's energy. And then when the hormones kick in and we start being attracted sexually to whatever gender, and then something happens. And if we use the traditional mode of girls trying to please boys, and the information that somehow boys like thinner girls, okay, and the social psychology or the psychology behind that is that it's not true that females are all powerful, males are more powerful than that boys and men find females very powerful. And because that's mother. All boys have a mother, and mother is all powerful. And with her big breasts and big thighs and big body, and now this is too intimidating. I have to separate out from mother love so that I can find my own maturity as an adult and not be a mama's boy. So there is some, in this psychology literature, there is the idea of, for a man to have a thinner woman who is not so overwhelming and motherly, like mother. And that's mostly the psychology behind it. Yeah. So, and then we have girls who take this to heart so literally that they restrict themselves and they lose their menstruation. They lose their very womanliness in the name of not wanting to be threatening to boys. And then, of course, as we talked about last week, there is the whole rebellion against being over-controlled, perhaps by authoritarian parents. But this is my body. I'm going to eat what I want, or I'm not going to eat what I don't want. And you go ahead and you lump it. So I'm very good at looking at problems, Julie Allen. So So you tell us your take on all of this, and then we'll look at some solutions.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. There's a lot to it. I mean, it is, I don't often take that step back like that. And, we all live in the same diet obsessed society. All of us as women are told constantly that we are not good enough as we are. Something is wrong with our bodies. I need to fix something. I'm not worthy just as I am. I don't often ask ourselves, why is that? It's a fascinating topic. It really is. But being in it, being in the society that is so obsessed with food and weight and controlling women's bodies just in general. Yeah, there's just a lot to it. And I would love to figure out how we can start to kind of break that cycle, because I have a preteen my stepdaughters are preteen, and just starting to hear different things that she's saying. It's there is a very clear time when things switch with our young females in particular, and they go from these confident little humans into self-conscious and questioning themselves. And it's how do we break this cycle? How do we as adults, step in and help these kids, these young girls, not lose that self-worth, not lose that fire, that spark in them? Because it took, I lost my spark for so many years because I was trying to please everybody. And now it's so hard. It's a lot harder to get it back after it's been so many years. But I really want to, I want to focus on those kids. And it's how do we break that cycle of self-loathing and lack of self-compassion for themselves?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, F the diet culture, as you so well say. Mm-hmm. And then we have another culture. We have the fast food culture. And the standard American diet is SAD, very sad. Mm. And, we live in the fast food world, the fast-paced world. And just talking to a friend the other day, she was actually saying that in the time of COVID, she cooks. Mm. Historically, she and her husband ate out a lot. And now she's home and she cooks and she loves it. And so we need to have a slow cooking movement. There is a slow cooking movement in the country, which I think is so important. But I, as someone in recovery myself from food addiction, mm-hmm. I used to sit there feeling very deprived when everybody else was eating dessert. Mm. And now I just sit back and I feel badly for them. Said, you don't realize what you're putting in your body? Mm. The sugar, if sugar came in the market today, it would be categorized as a drug. It goes right into the bloodstream directly. Mm-hmm. And it affects, it goes blood sugar level very high and then very low, equaling depression and drowsiness. And of course, white flour is almost like sugar, and people eating cheap manufactured carbohydrates, where the fast food industry actually has scientists who try to figure out how to screw our brains by making sure that in every product there is the combination of salt, sugar, and fat. Salt, sugar, and fat do not exist naturally in the environment. They do not exist naturally in food, the three of them together. But put that in a person's body and it affects their brain, and they want more and they're set up for cravings. They are geared, the fast food industry is geared to sell more. Mm-hmm. And so when I learned all this, I thought, I don't want to be a victim of these industries, that other people get rich on my being a victim, being exploited.
Yeah.
So I only eat whole foods. I don't eat anything processed at all. People tell me I look like 10, 20 years younger than I am, which I'm very grateful for. But I feel very grounded, very, very good in my own body.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I work in the fashion industry, and there's this fast fashion and slow fashion too. And it sounds very like I can see when you're talking, I could hear all these parallels between what you're saying, fast fashion, or excuse me, fast food is, and then what I've come to learn about the fast fashion industry. It's this more. You are never enough as you are. You must have more. You must consume more.
Wow.
And it is fast paced, and it plays on our insecurities. In fast fashion, there's this idea that you can't wear an outfit twice. You need to keep having more, keep getting more, because you are not enough as you are. So maybe this next thing is going to make you happy. And it sounds I can see a ton of parallels with this fast food analogy that you were talking about. I can see a lot. And so we recently switched our entire boutique from this fast fashion model, which is all about buy more, sell more, fast, into a slow fashion, much more mindful. And that mindful curation of your pieces, because you are worthy of slowing down and really being conscious and being aware of what you're putting on your body. Because I'm hearing all the things that you're putting in your body from what you're saying. And, I'll take it from a different point of what you're putting on your body. The polyester. It is. I mean, it's fat. I never took this. It's so many parallels, because the fast fashion industry, that, the majority of our clothes, 60% of clothes have some form of polyester in them. Polyester is plastic. Right. And so what we're putting on our bodies is.
I love it. What a good turn on words: in your body, on your body. And Julie Allen, I can relate. I'm aware of the concept of fast fashion in terms of a new cycle. Like what was stylish 6 months ago is no longer stylish, right? There's a new style, and you have to keep up with the Joneses, and you have to be part of the tribe, the herd, the group, which is part of being human, that we are hardwired to want to fit in. So, but the juxtaposition of fast fashion and slow fashion is absolutely brilliant as a coinage. And I'm thinking about what I've learned about European women, that what I've always heard is that they have a few good things, right, that they wear over again in different combinations, and the flair of the scarves for the French women, and that there is no shame in wearing the same items of clothing over a week or two. And I'm afraid that I am part of that I make a note when I'm seeing someone not to wear the same outfit when I see them again. Because if I see them 3 months later and I'm wearing the same outfit, I may not have worn it for 3 months, but they don't know that. They may think that's all I wear is that outfit. Yeah. So, wow.
Interesting.
A few good things.
Yeah.
So go ahead. So when you say and tell us about the Mary Rose Boutique, which is in Portland, Oregon. And where is it in Portland? It's right in the heart of the city?
It's actually in a suburb of Portland. So we're right on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, in a cute little downtown called Downtown Oregon City, which is oldest city in Oregon, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very cute little downtown. We've been there for 3 years, I think, or so.
Wow.
Been there a little while now. Over the last year, so like I mentioned, we did a lot of fast fashion, which it's like, oh my gosh, that is such like the fast food thing. It's fascinating, really. Yes. But we did fast fashion because we're size inclusive. So we carry sizes extra small through 6X. And it's always been very important to me to be not just size inclusive, but just inclusive in general. Like I just, our doors are like covered in rainbow flags, and I'm like, just come in. Come in, because I want all people in all bodies to feel welcomed and feel safe in our storefront. But one of the problems with the size inclusive fashion is it's really only available in fast fashion. So most ethically made clothing only goes up to a size large. And in the States, I believe the statistic is 70% of people identifying as women are a size 14 or above. And so in the sustainable fashion world, you just knocked out 70% of your population, just like that, right?
Wow.
And isn't it interesting? It's because it's very much attached to like this idea of morals and small body equals good. So why would somebody that lives in a larger body care about sustainable fashion, which that's a whole nother topic. But
wow.
Isn't it interesting? It's like once you dig a little deeper, it's like you really start to see all these parallels between just all the industries. And it all goes back to that, like this idea of women as we're not good enough as we are, this diet culture, like society that we need something in the external to fix us, something, food, clothing, a person, something like we are enough as we are,
Yeah, I love how you pulled in the morals and the small body is good, because what is that saying? That's saying I don't need sustenance. Mm-hmm. I don't need to nurture and nourish and replenish myself. I can be more ascetic. I can be more stoic. Mm-hmm. For females not to need. No, I don't need anything. I'm here to serve your needs. Yeah, so that's huge. And the whole concept of eating whole foods as delicious nourishment, right? And eating when you're hungry. Mm-hmm. And I learned that. And it took me a long, long time to get where I am. I tried everything, Julie Allen. Mm-hmm. I did go to a form of rehab. It was actually for codependency, a non-drug related addiction. And therapy and seminars galore and even writing my doctoral dissertation on this too, on women and weight and how two different groups of women joined together to deal with the problem. Mm-hmm. And I studied Fat is a Feminist Issue by Louise Ehrenreich, and then the Overeaters Anonymous, the medical spiritual model that God will help you. You have to abstain from sweets, whereas Fat is a Feminist Issue was about more rebellion, and you eat what you want to eat when you want to eat it, but make good choices, and give yourself stuff. Don't deprive yourself of French fries. If you want French fries, eat French fries with the idea that if I have real full choice, I will eventually choose the healthiest foods. So it was two different subcultures of ways of thinking about weight and body and food. Mm-hmm. And I did that to help myself, and I didn't get there. Not then, not 20 years ago when I did my doctoral dissertation. So the answer. So let's go back to what we talked about last week for the people today, because you said that your solution was self-compassion.
Yeah.
That what you said, the difference is that I have to want it for me. Mm-hmm. Right? So those two things. This is not to please somebody else, to look a certain way. This is not to rebel against my parents. This is not to give a big FU to my parents. I want this for me.
Yeah.
And combine that with self-compassion. And I love how you worked with your therapist at the rehab, the idea of, well, go back, right? If you don't have compassion for yourself now, go back to the 18-year-old, go back to the 11-year-old, go back to the 6-year-old ballet dancer. And how can you have compassion toward that little girl who still lives inside of you? So what do we do here? Tell us.
It sounds so overwhelming sometimes, really, because there's a lot at play here. And so our nonprofit, the Mary Rose Foundation, like I mentioned, we just very recently implemented our education and outreach programs geared towards our youth, typically teens and tweens, just trying to instill these messages of you are enough as you are. You have enough. You are innately valuable. No strings attached, right? And these kids just are inundated with messages constantly. And it's I would argue it's much worse now, because when we were growing up, there wasn't social media. There wasn't, you had to actively go out and look for things to compare your body to. Now it is right in your face all the time. So we have to find a way to break that cycle, because it is not a sustainable cycle. And slowing down as adults, as the adults in the children's lives, like slowing down, making more mindful decisions about our lives just in general. And this idea of the status quo, like, I'm going to eat this because this is what we eat and this is what we're doing right now. And I'm going to wear this because this is what everyone's wearing. And it's like just stopping for a minute and learning to be in tune with yourself is huge. Like, what does my body need? Self-love is an action. It's not a feeling. It's what does my body need in this moment? My soul, my being, my need right now. And then honoring.
Yeah. Self-love is an action, you said.
Yeah.
Wow. We think about self-care as an action, but I love that. Self-love is an action, and love is an action verb. You can't say I love you, or I even love this plant, but I'm not going to water it.
Right.
So that love, love, yeah, exactly. Love is an action. So you're seeing this now in the culture when you meet these teens and tweens, that these girls don't think they're innately valuable. When you say strings attached, that the love and worthiness is based on condition, that you look a certain way, right? That you appear a certain way. Yeah.
We just have to break the cycle. Like that is the biggest, most important thing, I think, going forward in our society, that like eating disorders are just one little drop in the bucket, right? Of issues that our youth are facing. And it can manifest itself in depression, drug addiction, all of those things. So figuring out how to help our youth develop coping skills and develop this sense that they are enough as they are. That is my big mission in life. It's like, how can we protect? It's not even protect these kids. It's give them tools, empower them to be able to live in our society that's going to constantly tell them that they're not enough. Like constantly, no matter our age, no matter our body size, it's like, we're not enough as we are. As a mom, it's like, nope, you're not doing enough ever. Doesn't matter if you work full time and your house is a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, nope, you failed. And so just getting that message that you are enough as you are, no strings attached. That is critical in breaking that cycle.
Yeah, and as you say, not only the regular media, but now the social media, where you hear about young people committing suicide, right? Because they're so harassed. And so the convolution, if I can kind of trace it, when I'm a kid, if I'm hungry, I want to eat. Unfortunately, it does start very young, because how many parents use food as a treat? How many use it to bribe them? If you're good, if you clean your room, I'll give you a sweet. And it is very elementary. Food is so elementary, and the fact that we are geared physically to want sweets. That if you let children choose their own food, they will go toward the sweets. And the reason for that in my reading is that we do not manufacture vitamin C the way animals do.
Okay.
And so, dogs manufacture their own vitamin C. So that we have to take in fruit to get the vitamin C.
Okay.
And so we have that sweet propensity to be able to eat the fruit that gives us the vitamin C. And so there is the physiological piece of sweets tasting sweet and delicious. And then there's the whole fast food, junk food industry, right, that makes a fortune on exploiting that taste and creates these non-foods that pass as real food. That is the norm. And that, these things come in colorful packages, and we see singing commercials of beautiful, slender people eating crap, and it's no problem, right? It gives them energy. And then children, if they eat junk food, but it doesn't show up until years later, the damage to the body. And I in my circle, I have so many aware friends who want to help their children eat more holistically, but they're against the culture, right? They're against the culture. So and now they're the ones that, my other mommies give me cookies, but you don't. And there's so much. But loving yourself, Julie Allen, we have to close this 2-part series. I can't thank you enough for using your own pain, your own growing pains, all your learnings, that you can be whole and you can free yourself from food addiction, and you can have a healthy, happy body and mind, no matter what your weight is, and doing the Courage to Hope and having the Mary Rose Boutique in downtown Portland, Oregon, and having your nonprofit foundation helping teens and tweens learning to prevent this kind of pain. And so if we want to purchase your book, The Courage to Hope, we can go to maryrose.boutique, and maryrose.boutique. Julie Allen is the author. Thank you again so much, Julie Allen. It's been such a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the interview, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.